Hi everybody, welcome to ZUpdate number 666. All right, my name is Zuko. I'm a video game environment and technical artist, and I'm working on a few different projects at a time, and this update just goes over what I did this week. We're gonna just kind of do a tour of Project Mix, which is one of the big goals for this week, to start improving Project Mix. And the core foundation of this experimental project is to try and get a scene that syncs up to music in some sort of way, which goes hand in hand with the fact that I'm making a rap album and I'm gonna be trying to release that sometime at the end of next year. So if I could somehow incorporate a few elements into Project Mix to sync up with maybe one or two songs of the album, that would be pretty awesome, and I think really fun to display my art through Unreal and music at the same time. I mean, that would be just, that's the ultimate goal, but for right now, it's pretty much just experimentation. I'm not entirely sure if it's gonna work. I'm not entirely sure what the final product even looks like. This is where it started. I started off with a cube system that just, all it does is it grabs its parent cube and it says, okay, I'm gonna do an animation once you're done. So the middle goes and then it animates and all of its children animate outward. Once it hits this guy right here, it'll restart the animation. So the only thing it needed was something to start, and that was just simply in here. If I go and click on my first cube, you can see it has parent cubes and I can magnifying glass to that. The parent cube, it's kind of backwards because it's saying, hey, what is my parent? So that way I know what to activate next. I think the more I keep doing this, the more I'm gonna be really figuring out the exact way I should do the parent and child relationship. Because to set up like a simple animation like this, where it animates outward from the center, I had to group like 100 and something cubes and tell them all to go to their specific parents. And there's gotta be an easier way. There's gotta be a way for me to control it or make tools to make it faster and better. But really, that wasn't that important at the moment because it's all just tests. But I liked the way that looked and I liked the way that felt. It's also hundreds of actors, so that's really not the best for performance. The next idea I had was a little bit more complex. From there, I kind of thought maybe I can take the parent and child and make a link between them, which in theory sounds really simple, but when it comes to like animating the link or even simply doing something like this, where I move one and it updates all of its child links, that's actually really complex and takes a lot of checking to do. For those who might be curious as to how that's even possible, because when you're going from actor to actor, you have to update their construction scripts to do that. I actually have a custom node that I exposed from C++ called rerun construction script right here, which just takes in an actor and then tells that actor to rerun its entire construction script. That is a safe function as long as you run it at the right times. Now, if you tell an actor to run a construction script and then that actor to run that old actor's construction script, you can get in like this construction script. It's really hard to say that. You can get in a construction script loop where they just kind of keep updating each other's construction scripts endlessly, which is bad. And that's probably why they don't expose this by default, but it's a super handy function for things like this because I can say, hey, when I move, I want you to update your link because I don't know anything about that. The way these work is the one node has only one link to it, and that's the parent node. So this is a child and that would be the parent. And I can simply, if I go over to, say like this guy, if I move him up, I can tell this guy to connect to here just by going over to parent node and then eyedroppering to the new node, and it'll automatically make it. So this was nice. And then I even made like a little quick generate random to quickly generate these things in an interesting fashion, or just kind of have some to work with. And that's the type of stuff when I talked about tools before that can be really useful. The end result ended up animating it outward from the center. So you get this animation from the center, which in the end looks pretty cool and could be useful if there is actually audio to it, but at the moment there's no audio in any of this. There is one thing about this though that I wasn't happy with, and it's the fact that a link lives inside of the node. And I think that's flawed because this one node base has to take care of all of the link information, which I went a little bit complex on that as well because I wanted to see how far I could go with that. But you can see if I go over here this is actually a spline, and these are all hierarchical instance meshes along the spline. So I can take this spline and actually curve it. So when it animates inward, no matter how curvy or complex it is, it'll always animate it in. But you can also see there's a few errors with that. When it has too many links, it doesn't know how to animate it properly. So there's a lot of bugs with this setup, and honestly, the hierarchical instance mesh route's not the best. I just was really curious to see if I could even do it. Really what this told me though is the links need to be separate and the nodes need to be separate. Okay, so now I have a little bit of a demonstration of what came out of this week. I'll just play it first and then I'll talk about it a bunch. I got a simple piano sample in there and it works pretty cool, and I'm really happy with it so far. And here's the difference between this node system versus the other ones. I'll go ahead and open up a scene that actually has a little bit of light in it. These nodes are actually separate. So the node itself is an actor, the link is an actor, and this node's an actor. I do understand the potential risks of having everything that is simply just these nodes connected to each other as separate actors. I'm not worried about that level of optimization just yet. I'm really just focusing in on the core and trying to get all that stuff to talk to each other first, and overall usage as well. This system is a lot nicer in my opinion. I just need to make a few tools to make it a little bit faster at this point, because it does take a little bit longer to set up a node. But this means that I could do whatever I want to child classes of these links and make them animate in many different ways. If I wanted to have a link just be particle effects that go from one end to the other, it can. And that's the greatest part about this system, is as long as there's events driven from start node to end node in the animation, then the nodes will know what to do and everything will just kind of work. And that's the idea between like a modular node-based system, is that everything just needs to work and be expandable from a certain point. So really what I'll end up doing is I'll put each one of these nodes as a parent class, and then I'll make all of the basic functionality, all the things that talk to links and stuff in that class, and then from there I'll make child actors to make it like an animated sphere, animated cube, animated whatever. That's what I'm really excited about, is the fact that I got that solved. And when I was saying earlier about how the links are a little bit harder to make, instead of clicking on a node to make a link right now, you have to click on a link, then give it a start point and an end point, which is just two nodes. So I can change the link right here by eyedropping this to the start point. So it's a little bit different thought-wise, but at the same time, I can easily make some sort of button where I'm on a node and then I can eyedropper to another node and it automatically makes a link or something. The last thing that I R&D'd was just sound. You might have heard there's a little bit of popping that I have to deal with, and biggest worry I have in that category is delay. Any type of sound delay or time-based delays with sound can possibly be a problem in the future if that delay is off by a tiny bit, especially if I have an extremely complex scene with hundreds and hundreds of these things all firing off their own logic. It can get pretty complex pretty quick, and I feel like one little delay issue can cause the whole thing to collapse really quickly. So that's what I'm really worried about. But the actual sound itself is just a sample of a piano playing one full octave of notes. So just this is what it sounds like. And then it goes up another 10 or 12 notes. It gives me this result. And you can hear there's a lot of release after the note. I did mess with some sustain values, but I'm having a lot of issues with trying to control how long the note plays for. And I'm not entirely sure if I want to get that granular or not, or if I just want to re-import a sample with shorter notes. So the nice thing about having the sample as one audio file though is I can just easily change out what the note sounds like as long as everything follows the same format. All I'm doing to play a different note is just playing it at a different time on that WAV file. And that concludes Project Mix and the little tour of it and kind of where I'm at and where I think I'm gonna be going. As far as this week, I think my biggest goal with this is gonna be getting something that's simple and can repeat, maybe have a kick and a snare just to get something and see if I run into any of those delay issues I talked about. The next thing is the 5th draft of the album, which is what I was mentioning about last week, all about my anxiety, and that is going okay. I got about 60-70% done with the lyrics. I need to get the blend from the middle to the end going a little bit better. But the biggest thing I'm actually focusing on with the album was trying to make sure I'm really focusing on flow, because I'm starting to realize the nuances of other rappers as to how they vary their flow. When they're going from one line to another, I'm trying to envision as if someone is hitting a snare drum every single time they say a syllable. And I think with that method, I'm able to find the moments where I'm just kind of like being just monotonous with the flow of the words. And that's one of the biggest things that I think I realized with getting feedback from people this week. So that actually makes me really excited, because that's stuff I can improve on pretty easily, and at the same time I think it'll give me a huge ramp up on quality and overall feel of the songs. The only thing I have really to show is just the background beat. I don't have any lyrics recorded just yet, so here's a little bit of what that sounds like. And that's pretty much it. This week, draft 5, I want to get all of the lyrics in, and I'm gonna be updating Project Mix. So that is it. And a fun fact, I actually recorded this whole video drawing in Photoshop. I think this works better than the Photoshop, but this did give me a time lapse of something, and I was able to draw today, which I'm really happy about. Also, I really like running, and I finally got back to running a 5K in about 30 minutes today. I had a 3-minute warm up, and then I ran for about 28 minutes on the 5K. But anyhow, I'll see y'all next week, and if you like what I'm doing, please drop me a line down below. Smash those buttons, let's go, and I'll see you again in another video. Bye!